All right, today's video, I watched 1 minute of it. The video is titled, I Married a Monster.
Hi ladies. If you hear any noise in the background, that's the new baby.
The baby's renovating?
A lot.
God damn, just bring the baby here, he can fix the floor. Shit. The baby is Bob the Builder.
Oh, he's playing with blocks. He's playing with blocks. Yo, leave the baby alone, bro.
Nah, I mean,
Yo, she want to talk about she married a monster. Leave her alone.
it's hammer time. Oh. Bang it. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I'm sorry.
It's all good. You're going to feel like an asshole. All right.
A lot has happened since the last time that I recorded. I think the last time you guys saw me, I was in my second trimester. I thought that when I came back on here that it would be to maybe do like some kind of newborn favorites or meet my new baby or something like that. But unfortunately, it's been a little over a month since I had to end up leaving my husband. I truly held my husband or saw him as the bar for what every woman should, type of man that or type of husband that every woman should aspire to have. I thought that he was my Prince Charming. I thought that he was my knight in shining armor. And, you know, he portrayed himself to be this amazing, upright, righteous Christian man. And I believed him. I didn't realize that the person I married was actually going to be my biggest nightmare. So basically, I think shortly after we got married, and this is something that I haven't talked about, I started noticing like certain things changed with him. I just started to see a few things that I didn't like. I honestly thought that some of these were things that I could get past.
You watched a minute of this and you thought we would, like, that's more than a minute. That's
Hold up.
That's an hour and a half.
Hold up. Read that sentence on the thing.
I can't read it. Hold on. He raped me 4 times in the first few months of our marriage.
So when she's talking about, I saw a few things I thought I could get over. So can I proceed now? What's confusing? Exactly.
6 weeks ago, I was changing my daughter, my 4-year-old daughter. I noticed that when I changed her, she was red and very sensitive.
Nah.
Yep.
Nah, B. Yep. Hell nah.
And for context, she already had children before she met him. And then she had a child with him, from what I understand. And this is one of the childs she had before.
Nah.
Let's keep watching.
And immediately, my first thought was, did someone touch her? Oh, God. I asked her, I said, baby, did somebody touch you? And she ended up saying it was Daddy. I felt like my world ended on that day. My husband wasn't home at the time when she told me, but I knew he would be coming home soon, so all I could do was just say, don't tell him that you told me. And I just instantly started trying to think of how I could get my kids out of the house. Because I knew if I confronted him, that he would just lie, and that he would probably just continue to keep doing stuff to her, but just become more covert or more sneaky or whatever. As soon as my husband got home, he was actually picking up the boys from school, my 2 older boys from school. As soon as he got home, I told him that I was going to go Halloween shopping with my sister because I just needed an excuse to get out of the house with all the kids. And I knew if I said something like, oh, I'm going to the grocery store, that it would be suspicious. Like, why am I bringing all the kids and like packing things, like things that we would need and things like that. So when I got to the hospital, they basically told me that we had to go to another hospital because they didn't do physical exams, like that kind of physical exam there. So a police officer escorted the kids and I to another hospital where they were able to evaluate my daughters. It ended up coming out that he had actually been touching both of my daughters, who are only 2 and 4 years old.
When she said daughters, because at first it was only one. When she said daughters, I was like, this must be just a typo in the way she's talking.
It still feels like a dream. Like, when this first happened, I just kept waking up every day and just hoping that this was a dream because it's literally my worst nightmare. It's my worst nightmare. I myself am a product of RAPE. That's how I came to be. Was also, abused as a child by a neighbor's husband. I specifically prayed to God that my children would never, ever, ever have to go through this. I just don't know how he was able to get away with it and so sneaky. Because with my own trauma, I watch my kids like a hawk. Like, I don't like them sitting on people's laps. None of that. And he knows how much I cannot stand men like him.
There's a thing that that you're doing, lady, is you feel guilty for what happened because you're supposed to be the mother. You're supposed to protect your kids, and it happened kind of under your watch, and then you're beating yourself over that shit. And I can understand why you are beating yourself over what happened. I get that. You feel guilty. I get that. But that kind of person did what they did and was trying to hide it from you. So no matter how you would have tried, he would have tried to do something. It has nothing to do with. It's not because you didn't protect them. It's because that person is a sick person. It's not because you didn't do your job. It's because that person is really fucking sick.
How do you know, though?
She just I like to believe that it's not her.
That's a fair statement.
I like to believe that it's
The
not
truth is, we don't know.
The truth is we don't know.
And I'm not even, because I didn't even want to go there. But I also don't want to just sit here and lie. I don't know.
It's not a lie. It's just
I don't know,
we don't know. We just don't.
We don't know. But when the topic of like people diddling kids comes up, people always talk about stranger danger, and it's rarely strangers. Like 99% of the time, it's the people closest to you. It's an uncle.
It's some people.
It's an aunt,
someone in
a
the family,
cousin,
a babysitter,
a family friend.
Mm-hmm.
A pastor. Mm-hmm. People who have high positions of trust.
Yep.
I feel so many different things, You hear about stories like these and you just think to yourself, like, how? Because if you spend around time kids and you see how innocent they are, the idea of defiling somebody like that, not that you should defile anybody, but the most vulnerable is just the most scummy thing I could ever think of. And I don't know, it feels so distinctly different, doesn't it? Of all the things, like, this is the one where it's like, what commentary can you really offer? The most vulnerable amongst us is targeted by certain people for their own gratification, for their pleasure is so important to them. They don't care that they might ruin that person's life and everyone else around. They don't care. That's how scummy it is. I don't know. And you think about, like, you pray that there's the deepest part of hell, a special place for people. It don't matter because the harm is the harm.
Mm-hmm. You don't know that. Karma's gonna get you. No, sometimes karma don't get you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it don't. We don't live in a movie.
Unfortunately.
We don't live in the movie where the script is perfect and the good guy always win and the bad guy always get what's supposed to be handed to them. We live in real life, unfortunately.
The other reason why I also don't like karma is it kind of takes away the agency of the people involved, thinking there's some kind of power that's going to create restitution. Sometimes you got to be the karma.
Sometimes you got to be the one that press charges.
Yup.
You got to be the one that pursue people.
And I hope
you have to be the one that goes after people and hold people accountable. Just waiting for some magic power to do the work, it's not going to work. Sometimes, it is written in the Bible. Help yourself and God will help you. Well, you have to help yourself first.
Yeah. On this topic, a couple things I want to say. I think it's great that when she even had an inkling, she didn't hesitate. She didn't disbelieve. Because I know some parents who don't believe because they don't want to believe.
Yep.
So they close their eyes and they let their kids suffer. So, I appreciate the fact that the first instinct with her was like, and she was very smart about it. She thought of a well-crafted lie that could get her away. She did all the right things. And so prioritizing your kids, coming up with the right lie, trying to get them all to safety before doing any stuff, going to official and getting, the grape kit done. All these things, I commend her for trying to protect her when she knew what she knew. And I think as far as speaking on this, I imagine it's not easy for her. And this is a very difficult thing to come to terms with. And maybe speaking for her is cathartic. It helps her out. I never want to make it sound like her doing this is something I'm going to shame or whatever. On the flip side, there is some part of me that feels it's slightly inappropriate to talk about your children's trauma on the internet before they're able to get old enough and decide for themselves if they want the public to know. I could imagine that if I was diddled as a child, that's not something I'd want out there if there was a choice. And I think a lot of people would want to make that same decision.
Yeah, I want to be the one that's gonna choose where and when
Yeah.
my trauma is going to be disclosed.
And
we don't
knows?
see the face of the parent. Yeah, but the parent is a person, so we know. A lot of people know the kids.
It's not about us in the public.
No,
It's about the people
around.
who know
Yeah,
her.
exactly.
Right? And this video got, 2 million views? So it's a very big video. And I imagine for the kids, like everyone in their circle, and they're just going to know those kids, and they're going to be raised with that. Now, look, maybe it's fun. I can't speak. I'm just saying. That's just something that came to mind. I'm not condoning. It's just something that came to mind.
Yeah, I agree. I tend to agree. It's just like the pictures, all the pictures that I see. I feel uncomfortable whenever I see parents posting a bunch of pictures of their kids.
It's not the same thing.
I know, I understand, but I always feel comfortable about that. And then there's the people that really go deep in the pictures and stuff like that. Like I've seen pictures in baths, pictures in the pool and stuff like that with kiddies. I feel uncomfortable. I don't necessarily want that out if I was a kid. My butt cheeks all the happy birthday, and you got people when he was a kid, and it's just it's just weird. You know what I mean?
That was an interesting segue, but okay.
What?
That was an interesting segue, but okay.
Which you want your kid, but your baby butt cheek pictures all in the internet?
It's a baby picture. That's me though. But listen, to each their own. I don't think it's that big a thing. I think someone's trauma is a bit different.
Sure. But if I have a problem with that, I'm gonna have a bigger problem with trauma.
Fair.
You know what I'm saying?
Fair.
Like me not wanting this starts way before we talk about trauma. Just the baby picture that I have a problem. So the trauma, that's
Sure. Your channel revolves around you promoting the idea of a trophy wife. I think this is a side of this conversation that we don't like indulging in, but I do hear women talk about this sometimes. A trophy wife is essentially somebody who puts themselves at the beck and call of their husband and basically gives most of the financial and the responsibility to somebody else, thus giving them the power. I just want to think about what kind of person that might attract and what kind of dynamic you create for yourself, where you become subservient to circumstances that you may not otherwise be if you retain some of that power and some of that financial capability within the relationship dynamic. We're talking about the raping of the kids, but the truth is, when you were raped 4 times, that should have been the end of it, right?
That's where I didn't want to sound like a jackass, so I let it slide.
What's confusing? Exactly.
I'm trying not to look like a jackass. But yeah, no.
What were you gonna say?
No, nothing.
No, it's not about blaming. It's just to have a conversation about, like, we have to be careful with these labels now, because I notice on the internet we glorify the idea of being a trophy wife. Okay. Mm-hmm. But we also have to think about what it is that we're essentially doing in that kind of dynamic. What we're giving up, what we're putting ourselves at risk, and the kids that we bring into that relationship.
What does
That's
that
all I'm
mean?
trying to say.
A trophy don't talk.
A trophy's not to be respected.
A trophy don't talk. A trophy just look good.
You know,
it's just there. Yay, I got the trophy.
To me, I made the same comment with the other group of girls, the prawn stars, who were talking about, becoming trophy wives and how great and amazing it is. And I was just like, what's great about being in somebody's cabinet, some kind of possession? Like, do you want to be treated like a human? I don't know. To talk about yourself that way and to glorify that idea, and then to be in a circumstance where you get objectified, I just think we have to be careful. Actually, no. I'm going to go a little bit stronger. I think we should probably dump the idea of glorifying being a trophy wife. Mm-hmm. I think it's okay to say you want to be a traditional, well, it's fine. But some of these terms and the kind of people who get attracted to these ideas, I don't know if you want to mingle with that. Now, maybe some of you could be like, you're victim blame. I'm not trying to victim blame them. I think it's okay to say certain lifestyles invite certain negative things. And I think it's okay to say we shouldn't promote these lifestyles because they encourage a lot of these negative things. Now, I shouldn't be shaming the people who end up suffering from the negative consequences. But I think it's okay to say, don't hang around drug dealers and all these guys because you might get blasted. And I think it's okay to say don't promote these kind of relationship dynamics that always put the women far below the men and treat it as an object. If that's victim, I don't know. But I think it's important to say that, because this is the negative side of this stuff. If they can go out and promote it, and it sometimes can have very dark outcomes, I think it's okay to be on the other side and say, this is some of the bad things that happen to it. And it's a possibility, not saying this is the case, that this is what this attracts. I know I would be nervous if my sibling told me they were a trophy wife to some rich guy. Nervous. And he was, and they were publicly saying that, and he was okay with that. I'm like, how does he view this person that I consider, I don't want her to ever be harmed, but he views her as a trophy? How would I feel about my loved one being in that kind of dynamic?
Nervous? I'd be more than nervous, but yeah. I get what you're saying. The victim blaming thing. There's some people that don't have the privilege of saying victim blaming.
Because they did?
That was a good point, but that's not where I was going. There's some people that don't have the privilege because of the environment where they at. They have to watch out for themselves.
Yep.
Victim blaming shit is gonna get them killed. If you turn certain corners wherever you live or you go certain places,
Promote certain lifestyles.
you might end up unalived. If you live in some places, the favelas, there's some codes that you have to respect if you don't want and then end up being a victim. If you live in some kinds of slums or some places in the world, you don't have the privilege of being victim blaming. No, I gotta watch out for me.
That's it.
And I gotta have accountability of where I walk, how I talk, who I talk to, who I speak, who I mingle with. And I cannot call that victim blaming. I gotta be like on my toes. If I'm a father, I got daughters, I gotta tell them, you know what? You gotta walk certain ways. You can't wear everything. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't be too drunk. Cause that's what I can control, and that's what I can have my eyes on. Victim blaming, maybe. I call it doing my job as a father that my daughter has to come back home. To be like, hey, you're a woman, you can do whatever you want. You should living in this utopia. I can't.
I mean, we do it dudes all the time, right? We tell guys, hey, listen, don't speak about violence. Don't be, patronizing, disregard, or
Watch your mouth.
Why? Because you might invite that kind of stuff in your life. Why can't we do it the other way around? Again, this is not to look at her and to degrade her,
not.
to not wish her well, to not want therapy or whatever she's going to need, and for her kids to come out of this. But
when you promote the life of trophy wife, I mean,
that's her channel, and I think it's important to have that conversation.
It is.
What you put out there draws some kind of people. I truly believe that. If you were out there and you had a channel about money and how it's all about money and getting fast cars, and then you attract gold diggers, I'm going to counsel you against that, because the lifestyle you're promoting attracts certain kind of people. I believe that's okay. And if people come for me, then I'm fine with that. I feel like I did my responsibility to my audience. That's what I think. Listen, I hope they all come through this. This is a dark one.
this is a dark one.
But yeah, hey man, it be the people closest to you.
God.
It be a true and people before they say like, oh man, this man that. I think I get served every single day a video about a female teacher diddling some kid. Don't believe me? Go on YouTube right now and look up. There are hundreds of these stories. Do not look the other way, whether it's a man or it's a woman. Just be aware of your child. Be aware of the people you invite into your home. And look, I'm not saying you guys can always protect everybody, but we could all try to do better. And we owe it to the kids. At the end of the day, as uncomfortable as this is, they're the ones who we bring into this world. They're the ones most vulnerable, so it's our responsibility. Not just the people involved, but the people around us. If you see something, say something. But yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts. Anything else?
Nah, I'm good.
All right, well, that's it for today.